Hey guys, what's up? Shadowlands back from their video. Today I'm going to be doing a quick overview of Hanzo. He is my favorite go-to for doing damage. I play Reinhardt and I play some Lucio. I play some Mercy occasionally, but Hanzo is my go-to man if I want to do some damage. I love sniping, and if you guys didn't know it, I'm an archer myself, so maybe that has some influence, but I absolutely love playing Hanzo. And today I want to go over him from a level of like basic usage, like you've never used Hanzo before. What is he good for? How should I use him? And even also give some more advanced tips from someone who's been playing Hanzo since the day this game came out. So anyway, let's get into this. Let's go over some basics first. He's really good at turret destroying and bastion destroying from a distance. It takes 3 fully charged arrows to kill a bastion, and they usually won't get out of the way before you can kill them. And turrets are very easy to destroy as well. You can do them in as little as 2 arrows if you do it right. And not to mention, there's usually the Torbjorn nearby who is very easy to kill as well. He's short, so it's easy to land headshots on him. And also, he's also very good for picking enemies in general. Let's move on to that as well. Not only is he good at picking off a Torbjorn from behind his turret, he's also very, very good at picking enemies. So if you guys have someone who's far away, you can not only poke them if you have like a tank or something, if you're focusing a Roadhog or Reinhardt. He's very good at poking tanks, and I'll get into that in a little bit later, but he's very good at picking enemies in general. So if you're looking at like a Reaper or a soldier who's running across the field, it's very easy to pick a quick headshot on them. So with a little bit of practice anyway, I'm pretty sure most of you guys are able to get good at that. He's also very good at focusing healers from a distance, where you can pick out an individual enemy and focus on that one. The issue with Widowmaker and a lot of other characters like that, it's hard to sometimes focus on one individual enemy because of the sights that scope in, and it makes it very difficult to focus on one enemy in a crowd of a bunch of them. You just sort of, if you're like playing an Ana, for example, you'll just be shooting into the crowd and trying to hit someone in general, whereas if you're playing, and kind of like same thing with a Widowmaker almost, but if you're playing a Hanzo, because you don't zoom in that much, it's very easy to just focus one enemy. It's kind of like having a low zoom scope on a sniper rifle, which the other two don't have. He's also very good at providing recon. He's got that sonic arrow. It's very nice to see where enemies are coming from. You can run ahead of your group and throw down a sonic arrow so that you know whether it's clear or not to run through a hallway. It's very, very nice to have that for your whole team. Not to mention, he's very good at just assisting at clearing rooms in general. Because of his scatter arrow, you can throw that off of a wall, and I'll actually talk more about doing that very well later on. I want to go into some more advanced strategies now, some things people have not thought of, or things that you may want to go try out. He's very good at damaging Reinhardt's shield in 2 different ways. First of all, if you have your scatter arrow up, you can just outright do a ton of damage to it. But if you're trying to get the Reinhardt to just keep his shield up and keep him away from the fight, you're very, very good at poking them, and I want to talk about this as well too. He's very good at poking tanks from a distance and forcing them to use their skills. Reinhardt's shield, Diva's Matrix, Zarya's shield. Force them to get rid of those shields so that they can't do their job as tanks and they're more preoccupied with dealing with you. Even though you're not going to be doing a ton of damage to them, tanks don't think that way. Tanks just think, I have to mitigate all damage. That's just the way that tanks think. And to be honest, I think the same way when I play Reinhardt, and it's effective on me too. If you poke me with a Hanzo, I'm probably going to throw my shield up. But that's the whole idea, is that you want to be able to get them to, use their abilities so they can't use them later on. That's the whole idea of what poking a tank is all about. Hanzo is also really good about providing your team intel before the match starts. So if you run up, if you're on like defense per se, you can walk up to the enemy's door and drop a sight arrow or a sonic arrow on their opening doorway. So you can see who's running around behind the door before the match even starts. You can give your team intel, okay, are we fighting a Reinhardt? Are we going to expect a Reinhardt to come walking out of the door? Are we expecting a Diva to come dashing out? Are we expecting a Zarya to come running out with her shield up? It's good to know these things before the match starts. Also, are we going to be dealing with a Mercy who's going to be coming out with her team trying to heal people? Or are we going to be dealing with a Zenyatta who's going to be sitting back and trying to heal people and do debuffs from a distance? What are we fighting? It's good to know that right before the match starts, because it definitely helps your team set up, especially if you're trying to do a setup directly outside of their door, like on Hanamura or something like that. Now I want to go into some tips for actually using skills. First, we're going to go over the scatter arrow. This is one thing that's pretty well known, so fire at the ground, not at the opponent. Most people know this by now. A lot of people will try to use it to fire into rooms and just hope that something hits them, but you're not going to be doing a lot of damage that way. And if you are shooting into a room, aim at the lower part of the wall. So if you're like shooting into a room from the outside, aim at the wall that you can see, but aim at the lower part of the wall. That's what you want to do, because if you think about the geometry, when you hit the lower part of the wall, a lot of the arrows will bounce off the ground, as well as the ones that are coming back up, and you'll get a lot of arrows that are going towards the same point, which means that you're going to be getting a lot of damage if you're able to hit your opponent with that. So aim at the lower part of the wall for maximum damage if you know someone's in there. Also, if you're shooting down a stairway and the stairway has a ceiling, for example on Hollywood, when you're up and you're trying to defend the very first point and they're coming through that gateway, there's that building that you can stand up on top of. You'll often see turrets and snipers up there. There's a stairway that goes up there, and there's a ceiling. Obviously, it's an enclosed stairway. If you shoot at the ceiling, where the arrows will go is straight down on top of the target and also land headshots, which is really great. If you shoot the wall from the side, you'll be getting one headshot at best, because that's just the way that the spread works. But if you aim at the ceiling, you can get multiple headshots and do a lot more damage if you're really consistent with it. It takes practice, but it is a lot more effective if you get good at it. Finally, aim closer than you think you have to your target, particularly with the scatter arrow. This is true kind of with all arrows. A lot of people tend to over-aim with Hanzo, but with the scatter arrow in particular, aim closer to your target. Don't aim 3 feet away from them at the ground. Aim 1 foot away from them at the ground. You want every one of those arrows to hit them. The further you aim away, then the more that you're going to have spread on the arrows and have some arrows miss, which is not good. Next, we're going to go look at the sonic arrow, or what I like to call the sight arrow. Use it on the corners of major turn points. That's just really good for your payload type map. And if you're using a payload type map, if your opponent's team is really aggressive, actually shoot the payload with it, because it's really good to know where people are around the payload. And with his wall climbing ability, it's very nice to actually climb up the payload itself and just try to land jump shots and get the angle for the headshots. It's very useful, and I find it useful to fight like a parkour student almost might. So if you're like learning how to use the bow as a parkour sort of thing, it's a very interesting way to fight, and your sonic arrow is going to be really, really helpful for getting you like used to that sort of, so you can sort of guess where people are. Eventually you may not even need to use it, especially if you're 1v1ing people, but it is nice to have at least to start, and if you have multiple people trying to help you, it can help you coordinate a little bit better as well. Finally, I want to go over the ultimate, and using Hanzo's ultimate. For a lot of people, you'll notice it's either a hit or a miss. They'll either get like no kills or they'll get like 4 kills, and there's a really big difference between the people who get no kills and the ones who get 4 kills, and it's all about setup and planning. First, I'm going to give you a couple of do nots. Do not fire it upward or downward. If you're firing it downward onto a team, you are already messing up. Don't do that. Always straight ahead. Always whatever kind of like level lateral area that you're on, that's where you want to be shooting it. You don't want to be shooting it up or down, because you're going to miss a lot of potential kills right there. Next, do not fire it head on. A lot of people will fire it head on straight down a hallway. The only time it's acceptable to do that is if you're pushing with your entire team and you're using it sort of as a shield for your team to walk through. That's really useful. However, it also does kind of bunch up your team, so depending on what you're fighting, like if you're fighting a Bastion and you're not aiming at the Bastion and he is basically going to sit there and your entire team's walking through the dragons and the wolves, then that's obviously going to create a giant bunch for you guys, but for the most part, that's the only time that could even be remotely relevant. Usually, this is what you want to do instead. Firing from the side of the opponent's team works best, because people aren't watching their side. And the thing is, if you fire it from behind as well, you then risk getting seen by yourself. And also, if you fire from behind, it does work pretty well, but if you're firing from behind, you're also not going to be hitting as much lateral space on the checkpoint as you want to, whether it's on the payload or whether it's on an attack point. You're not going to be hitting as much lateral space. Almost every single one has more lateral space than like long space, if you want to think of it that way. Volskaya Industries is a really good example. So if you're able to get to one of the sides and fire it across the way, not only will they not see it coming, it's also very useful so that you can actually hit more people than if you just fire it straight down the alley, because usually there won't be that many people there. You'll get 1 or 2 kills at best, and it's very easy to avoid. So that's kind of the reason you don't want to do that. Now, I want to give some additional tips with Hanzo, just the last few things that I want to go over here. Make use of your wall climb to make shots. Like, if you run into a room, you have someone chasing you, like a Lucio or something, or a tank or something, like a Roadhog is a really good example. Jump up, climb the wall a bit, and land shots from then, and sometimes you can even get back out of the room. It's very easy to use that kind of parkour stuff and very well confuse people. It's very easy to go ahead and juke people like that. It's a really interesting thing to try. I noticed that there's a lot of great places to do it on Temple of Anubis as well during the second half of the map. It's really useful. I love doing it, and I highly recommend you guys give it a shot. Give it a shot. It is Hanzo's primary job, I do want to talk about this, to deal with turrets, poking tanks, and killing healers. He's very niche. You don't always have to deal with turrets, I guess you could say. It's mostly if you're on attack, you're going to be dealing with turrets because they have them on defense. He is a good defensive character. He is very good, but he can be used very, very offensively as well. He's also very good for poking tanks, like I said earlier, keeping their shields down, or well, rather up when they don't need to be, and so just getting them to use their skills. He's very good about poking tanks, and he's great at picking out individual healers. I was mentioning this a little bit earlier as well. Since he's a sniper and he has the potential to one-shot kill so easily, and since it's so easy to land headshots with him compared to like Widowmaker, where you have to be so precise that if you're off by a little bit, you miss. If you have Hanzo aiming for healers, it's much easier to get those kills, not to mention his base hit does so much damage already. That's not saying Widowmaker and them can't do their jobs well, but he definitely does a really good job of what he's trying to do. So work on those first, and then go after the Reaper and Soldier that you see running across the field. Hanzo also works surprisingly well at medium and close range if you aim well, and if you're having issues with it, just try higher sensitivity if you're having issues with close quarters. So yeah, give that a shot. I highly recommend trying that. And then don't get into a pissing match with another Hanzo. I see this so often. A very smart Hanzo will ignore the Hanzo on the other team if there are other things to be done. If there are still turrets up and tanks to be poked, he'll focus on those. He won't focus the other Hanzo unless the other Hanzo is dumb enough to not be paying attention. Then, of course, you can go ahead and pick off a sniper if you feel you can. But on the same note, you're going to lose to most Widowmakers and Anas if they don't suck, so do not use Hanzo to fight a Widowmaker or an Ana. That's just a bad idea, because they have insta-kill shots where it's very hard for Hanzo to land that at longer ranges. Widowmaker and Ana obviously have the higher range scopes, and Ana can do DOT, which is also something Hanzo doesn't have, or doesn't really have a way to combat as well, so he's usually going to lose to Widowmakers and Anas, so just don't engage that. It's a bad idea. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment, subscribe, share your own Hanzo tips and tricks below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Shadowlance, out.